Well, good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, my beautiful pen friends, and welcome to another video with your host, Andrew. And for the subject of today's video, we are going to be doing a comparison of two pens, the Leonardo Momento Zero in Blue Hawaii and the Leonardo Messenger, which is a limited edition for this year. So without further ado, let's crack on and get on with the video. Well then, ladies and gentlemen, what we have here today are two very fine Italian pens. We've got on the right hand side, on my right hand side, is the Leonardo Messenger in the caramel finish. And then on the left hand side, we've got the Leonardo Momento Zero in Blue Hawaii. I think the official name for it is the Leonardo Officina Italiana Momento Zero in Blue Hawaii, but it's quite a long mouthful, so I'm just, apologies Leonardo, I'm going to shorten it for the sake of this video. I will be overlaying some text as I go along with size comparisons and weight comparisons, and that information may or may not prove useful to you, but I do know that other channels do this and some people seem to like it, so who am I to deny you of such pleasures? Okay, so let's do a little comparison moving from the bottom to the top. So both have got semi-conical style designs coming up to a point on the actual finials, bottom finials. They've got a blind cap on the Momento Zero with a silver ring. On the Messenger, there is nothing. There is no blind cap at all. Does that bother me? Not really, because I don't really tend to use the actual blind cap. But from a style point of view, this is where you're going to see the start of where the extra cost goes into the Momento Zero. Okay, as we come down, I'll talk about the acrylics in a minute. We've got on the Messenger, on the left-hand side, we have got imprinted. I'll turn it away. We've got Leonardo Officina Italiana imprinted on the actual silver ring, or band if you're in America. And then we've got 3 rings on the Momento Zero. Just underneath, we have got one further ring, which is just going around, but it's not actually part of the cap. If I just unscrew that very lightly, you can see that that actually is somewhat different. Okay, so moving to the top. Both have got very nice clips. The one on the Momento Zero is an Italian style rollerball clip, which does make for sliding into your pocket very easily. Having said that, it's no less easy to do so with the actual clip on the Messenger. Aesthetically speaking, this is night and day better than perhaps on here. I think they may be missing out on a trick. Perhaps you could have had some nice sort of laser engraved pattern going down on the actual clip itself. But this is a cheaper pen. This was around about £135 in total, including shipping. And this was about £155. So anyway, back to the actual pens themselves. We have got, again, conical style designs on the top. And on here, it's slightly conical, but no actual point. It comes to a slightly flatter top. If I unscrew the caps, as you can see, we have got 2 remarkably different style sections. On the Momento Zero, on my right hand side, we have got a silver ring going around, which I think is really nice. It sort of divides the barrel, the blind cap, and the section really nicely. On the Messenger, we have got metal threads, which actually I think look really stylish. Some people might think it's a little bit out of place, but I like it. And then as we come to the actual nibs, we've got on the Momento Zero a medium cursive italic, which was ground by Emmy at Pen Venture. And then we've got a fine nib on the actual Messenger. Both nibs are of different manufacturers. The one on the Momento Zero comes from Bock, and then the one on here is on my Messenger is a Yovo nib, which I've been led to believe may become the standard in the future. Whether that comes to fruition or not is yet to be seen, but that's what I've been led to believe. In terms of the actual designs on the nibs, I much prefer the Yovo nibs with the scroll work. Having that sort of imprinted pattern rather than laser etched gives it a real nice bit of class, and generally speaking I much prefer that to even the small little sort of laser cut lines on the Leonardo one on the Bock nib. Anyway, okay, so let's move on. So I'm just going to quickly remove the section on the Messenger. As you can see, we've got a standard international style converter. There is no branding on here whatsoever. It's got a plastic turning mechanism. And then on the Leonardo Momento Zero, we've got a full metal international style converter, but there is branding on the actual, hold it the right way, we do have actual branding on the actual turning mechanism, and it is quite a bit nicer to actually look at. Will you actually look at this in reality? No. Will it change the functionality of the pen? No. But these are the sort of key differences to why the Momento Zero is slightly more expensive. In terms of going to the side profile of the nibs, the one, the actual Yovo nib has a slimmer profile, whereas the one on the Bock nib is slightly fatter. This is more reminiscent of perhaps some of the Evernight feeds which you may come across on some more expensive pens, and I generally prefer this style of feed. I think it looks a lot more stylish from the side profile. Okay, so let's have a quick close-up of some of these pens, and we can have a look at the acrylics in more detail. So I'll switch over to my other camera, and then we'll have a quick look. Okay, so as you can see on the Leonardo Messenger, we've got a mixture of opaque and semi-transparent materials. It's much more prevalent around the inner threads for the cap, and you can also see the nib just coming through in places as well. This is a limited edition model, as I have mentioned before, and just above the Officina Italiana has got the actual number. On the Leonardo Momento Zero, as you can see, we have got the name, and we have also got the numbered edition of this. Now the material on here is very reminiscent of seeing an aerial view perhaps of the Hawaiian Islands, with sea all done in these beautiful stripes. And as we come to the cap, you can see in more detail that chatoyance coming through on the actual resin. If we dart back again to the Leonardo Messenger, you can see we've got some similar levels of detail. And as we just spin the barrel around, you can see that chatoyance just coming through in various sections and then just disappearing as we rotate the pen. Right, well, that's a bit more of a close-up look. So let's move over and have a look and see how well these pens actually perform in comparison to each other. Now, one thing I will mention before we do go over is that, unfortunately, the Yovo nibs, as much as I do like them, you can't reverse write with them. Whereas with the Momento Zero, you can. So let's head on over to the drawing section. Okay, so welcome to the drawing section. Today we are going to have a go at doing an Indian runner duck. So I hope you enjoy, and I will just do this as more of a basic comparison between the two. I'll do one with the blue ink, which I've got loaded into my Momento Zero, which is the Diamine Royal Blue, and then I've got Diamine Ancient Copper in my Leonardo Messenger. So here we go.
Okay, well, thank you for watching. I hope that proved instructional. So we're just going to do a very quick writing sample here with Indian Runner Duck in both pens, and I hope that will satisfy those which want to see how well this pen reacts in a writing example as well. In future videos, again, if you want to see a little bit more writing, that is something I can do, but as I am still trying to learn cursive, this is one reason why I've sort of shied away from doing so. Anyway, I will not speak any further and just let you watch the rest of this writing sample, and then join me over in the overview in a moment. Thank you once again.
Okay, well, thank you for watching once again. And just a final note on the Messenger. This is a limited edition pen, so only 366 of each colour has been produced. This caramel has proved very popular, so if you are after this pen, I would suggest heading out and purchasing one as soon as you can. For €135, or £135 I should say, you really can't beat this pen. It really is such a beautiful little writing experience. The nib is a little bit drier than the Bock nibs I've found. That could be just my pen, but certainly on this fine point, it could be a little better at times. But having said that, it does afford me some more sort of sketch-like experiences with the pen. The Leonardo Momento Zero in this blue white is absolutely striking. I would say it's perhaps my favourite colour pen which I've got. The grind which Emmy put on the pen is pretty good, as you can see from the little writing example which I did just at the very end. And just one last thought before I do sign off: do support your smaller companies. The customer support is sometimes a little bit mixed, but generally speaking, when you're dealing with the actual producer and the maker of that product, be it pens, a bowl or bookcases, you're creating a sort of synergy between what your sort of thoughts are to what is actually possible. Unfortunately, you don't necessarily always get that experience with larger companies like Mont Blanc or Pelican. Of course, you can always suggest things to those companies, but whether they go into fruition is less likely than perhaps if you were talking to someone like Leonardo or Santini, where they can actually produce bespoke pens. You know, if you were to go to Pelican and say, "Oh, could you make me an M1000 with a particular acrylic?" They won't. They won't even entertain that. They may consider it for a special or limited edition in the future, but those chances are very, very slim. Whereas if you were to maybe go to a smaller manufacturer like Frank and Christoph or Ryan Crusac, and you said that I've got this particular type of wood, I've got this particular type of acrylic, and I'd like you to turn a pen in that material, the chances are that they most likely will. So don't be afraid to just reach out to these smaller companies and say, "Oh, I've got an idea for a pen. Would you mind entertaining this thought?" You know, the worst they can say is no. But generally speaking, most companies are pretty amiable in terms of, you know, producing something a little bit more custom, which I've spoken to about in the previous video. Anyway, I digress. So yes, both great pens, and if you've got any suggestions, comments of what you might want to see in a future video, please leave them below, and I will keep you posted on hopefully that interview which I've got lined up with Leonardo. So once again, thank you very much for listening and watching, and I shall see you in the next video. Oh, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy the content. Thank you very much. Bye bye.